This episode of Scab Talk is brought to you by Lethal Gaming Gear. And welcome back to Scab Talk, everyone. Today's episode, we'll be discussing the Tarkov patches that came in the form of Arena and Escape from Tarkov, followed by Giga's woes, trials, and tribulations, completing Punisher Part 6 with the SVD, how to get out of a Tarkov slump, Crawl, the best arcade game, and the Dark Souls 2 lighting engine mod.
Exciting stuff. So, we are recording this late because I was busy and then we had clashes and whatnot. So, this is actually Monday, the 3rd of March. So, we're going to be having a slightly different cadence. We'll get this out on as soon as possible, but then we'll be doing another one, I think, on Friday. Hopefully, I haven't even checked actually. I hope we'll go back on schedule. But yeah, it's not been like super crazy in Tarkov land. There's been a couple of patches and this, that, and the other to go through, starting with the old Arena patch. So this is the one that came through on the 25th. So yeah, we've had like a bit of a gap, right? Because that was like last Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, they basically, I don't know, they kind of like put Arena up to where the main game is at the moment. So the game engine version up to Unity 2022, updated the Meta XR audio, which is the current audio engine that we're running, up to the latest version. And there's a couple of things that we saw on previous patches, things like implemented the dynamic variation of movement, sound, hearing radius, the BSG-isms of some of the technicalities on here, depending on movement speed and type. So this is like the walk speed is now much, much tighter, like all of that stuff that we've kind of been dealing with since the beginning of patch 16. And improved attenuation curves and all that kind of stuff, and the removal of binaural audio. So it's all of this stuff that we went through a while back when the patch actually started. Which is, when was that now? That's like, gosh, we're like over 2 months. We're into month 3. I think we're into month 3 of this particular wipe. So there's definitely that. There's some interesting ones like reduce the announcer voice volume, which we will see in a second. Maybe not have gone quite to plan, and. Fix some issues with sound. They basically added then like a load of stuff in the armory, which was some MPX attachments. They've added they've added the Sacco barrels and stuff. I'm not actually sure if it's in the game yet. I haven't actually tried. I haven't actually looked for it. I guess they did. I can see it further down actually. But I wonder actually what that costs to get, because when I last looked, it wasn't there. Because previously I was interested in that because of the whole bolt action skills leveling thing.
Right.
And the Sacco is actually a lot better than the AXMC. You can get no overswing on it. It's like a bit lighter, so it cuts in some of the thresholds a bit more easily than the XMC does. I think in the base game, because somebody sent me a clip the other day of them using it, and I was like, well, I don't even have access to this thing. And I think you have to go through the Sturman line in the main game, and then you have to do the really annoying one where, so if you kill Sturman, regular quest, boss quest, then you have to kill him with, they changed the scope, so I don't remember now. Is it the TAC 30 now or something? I think you have to kill him with the TAC 30.
So.
It's called Hunting Trip. I think you have to kill him with that. And then there's another one after that. I think it's called Connections Up North, I believe, which is yet another task that you have to do. And then you get it there. So it's actually not too bad necessarily. But yeah, I haven't actually had a chance to play with it yet, unfortunately. So maybe we could get to, I don't know, at least try it in Arena or something. I'll have to go and have a look at that. But yeah, there's things like the MTX Flux helmets, those have been added. The BAD lever bolt release, which I need to do a bit more work on. I'd actually intended to do something on that at this point, because I was told that, and I had a little look at it, but I need to actually go and record it, that the BAD lever is something for, AR-15 pattern weapons like M4 and ADAR and that kind of thing. And it's like a magazine lever that allows you to use your trigger finger or the trigger hand or something like that. Somebody was telling me. I'm not exactly sure, but it changes the animation. More importantly, it's like 2 ergo or something, but it changes the animation. So when you're empty on the M4, rather than going click out in clack and then it's goes back in again, you just kind of go, you just sort of slot the magazine in and it's good to go
it on
kind
the
of
side.
thing, and you sort of just go click with this little lever. And so it's a slightly different animation. I need to actually time them and see exactly which is better. But I've been told from fairly trustworthy authority that it's a faster reload when you completely empty the mag, which I was not aware of. So I actually need to go and check that. And this has just reminded me that I need to go and do that. So I'm actually probably going to write it on a list or something because I keep forgetting. To do it. So I need to go and test that. But so that's been added. So there's lots of random parts like the AK Evo stock, which is like the Zhukov for the folding versions.
Yeah.
Which is another good one in the main game that you talked about on one of the other weeks. And some 100 rounders and stuff like that. So there's like a whole bunch of things in there.
So kind of getting everything
base game
up to date as far as Tarkov new attachments, parts, and audio engine updates and whatnot.
Yes, pretty much. But so there's a second part. There's a second part to this one, which is the problems afterwards, which they posted on the Escape from Tarkov Arena Twitter account, which is, we're aware that after the patch, which updates the sound engine and Unity, some players experience the following issues. FPS drops on locations in various game modes. I mean, we saw this in the base game, right, with customs, so we know that Unity 2022 does cause some issues. Incorrect positioning of sounds on distances, increased announcer. This is the funny one. Increased announcer voice volume, even at 10% setting in the settings. So the announcer's just like deafening for a while. I think this has actually been fixed now. PMC's rubber banding when there's no visual indicator of high packet loss. There's like a bunch of stuff. So I think they did actually change it in the end. I didn't want to play with the announcer voice thing. I saw that and was just like, oh, I don't even want to play the game. That's going to be really annoying. Just like having the announcer just like shouting in your ears. I don't even know what he's saying anyway to start with, but it's going to just be even more annoying. I will say though, despite all this, like after they kind of fixed a few of these things, I've actually been playing a little bit, just like here and there, and I'm enjoying it. I kind of like made a bit more of a concerted effort to go back. This is sort of relevant to what I'm going to talk about a bit later with the SPD and like Tarkov slumps and whatnot. But I was just like, I need to get good again, so we need to like hone it down and get some more practice. So I've definitely been putting in a few more last hero hours to try and get the aim up and that kind of thing. And the game is feeling all right. I think it's feeling okay, but it's in some situations I'm surprised that people don't die and stuff. So I'm not sure. Like it's one of those things where we've gone through lots of different waves of stuff within the base game, which we'll look at next in terms of arms and armor and plate bugs and this, that, and the other. And it's very hard to know like what's working, what's not working. And I kind of lost the impetus to like go through and test everything. So anyway, so that's Arena. So let's move on to that then, which is the main patch, the big patch, which I'm actually yet to play because just because of timing and like I wasn't here and then over the weekend. So change the in-game season to spring, so the snow is gone. It looks, from the screenshots I've seen, as I said, I've not actually like been in and gone to woods or anything like that, but it looks pretty like normal spring. I think we've kind of avoided the sort of slushy, muddy kind of one. I've sort of gone like back to kind of greenery. Disable the less optimal technology of the transparent object rendering for performance, but as we discussed previously, a lot of this stuff is all GPU related, so unless it's a CPU related thing, it doesn't really change anything for most people. Optimize the technology of flashlight and lamp illumination rendering. I believe this is to change what we saw last week about the whole volumetric lighting and how it's just like completely screwed up. I think volumetric, like from what I've heard, if you change volumetric lighting, you just like can't see anything now. It's just like super dark.
The interchange is
check it properly.
Really crazy for that. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, so it makes it very, very difficult. And they added the ability to change DLSS model presets in RAID, so you can actually go and like test it in different areas. Right? It's like hard to know how these things are going to look unless you actually. That's why the preset the post FX system is so good, because you can do the little compare button and then you can do the sliders and you can see it in real time, which is like really handy. So yeah, if you want to mess around with DLSS, you can kind of see what preset K looks like versus the others without having to restart your game 16,000 times and all of that, which is pretty good. Now, the big change from this patch was the AI behavior improvement. So this is like the most of, I think this is like 80% of what this patch is about.
Yeah.
And I've heard good things so far. I've heard mostly good things. Seen some crazy stuff on Twitter, obviously, as you might imagine. But mostly I've heard good stuff. So readjusted the system of enemy detection for AI. Now bots notice and lose sight of the target gradually rather than instantly. I had a clip the other day of, Sniper Scav just being like completely clairvoyant, know where I was going to shoot, dodge down. And then once they stood back up again, they had no idea I was even there. So it was just like, they were just like really like omniscient, knew that I was just about to fire.
And
then like 3 seconds later, they're just completely oblivious of me, and it was just like, well, this is
They
like
had,
so
like,
stupid.
infant memory capabilities of like an infant.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did the block go?
Yeah. So that's changed to be kind of a gradual sight loss, which is kind of nice. The detection speed is affected by many factors: weather condition, distance, angle to the target. So the further away the enemy is, the longer it takes to detect them. So you won't get, or hopefully you won't get that thing anymore of, like sometimes you even get it, when you're like miles away, you just hear a shot and you're like, was that even at me? And then you look out and there's a scav like 3 bazillion years away and they're shooting at you. I had it once on Lighthouse and they were miles away and the scav could like clearly see me. They were doing the side step, like facing towards me, but they weren't shooting because even in the old model, they were still too far to actually engage or whatever. But like the AI knew I was there and it was very, very blatant. So the greater the angle between the bots view and the enemy, the longer it will take to detect them. So if you're at the sides, it can take longer to detect than if you're straight ahead, which is cool. The heavier the fog or the rain, the longer the enemy detection speed, and the shorter the maximum maximum enemy detection range. I wanted to say energy there for some reason. Visibility impact of fog and rain is negated if both the bot and the target are indoors. Detection speed is non-linear, and at very close ranges, the impact of angle is much smaller. So if you're like next to them, then the angle doesn't matter so much, which is good. And visibility reduction is combined from all of the factors. So, I mean, all of this already is like pretty complicated. I'm intrigued as to how they actually managed to get this in without just like tanking the game. But so there's more. Adjusted the coefficients of enemy silhouette detection influence. The bot detects a standing target the fastest, and then a crouching target, and then a prone target the slowest.
I had no idea this was. Sorry, I was going to say I had no idea this was in the game already. But it kind of caught me by surprise. I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, it is pretty good. I've been aware that if you're prone, they don't detect you mostly. Like you can almost have scavs walk past you when you're prone, even before, which was pretty good. Crouching, it didn't seem to make much difference, to be honest. But sometimes, if you were like prone and like still, then they would come pretty close without seeing you. I've had that a couple of times myself, so I was like, oh, it must be something. But I guess they've just changed it a bit. Adjusted AI visibility depending on vegetation. I know this is something that people are really excited about and does actually seem to be working from some of the posts I've seen. So remove the ability to see the enemy through gaps in vegetation at medium and long ranges for all bots, including bosses, except for Zerachi, Bird Eye, and the BTR. So there's like a couple of exceptions. But now bots will no longer see through gaps in trees and bushes, but if there's a space between separate vegetation, the bot will still be able to see the enemy. So I imagine that
you're like
the
in
actual
between
vegetation. Yeah, so like the actual like a bush itself has now got a sort of detection opacity to it or something across the whole of the vegetation. But so if you're between two distinct elements that have been added to the game, then you'll be spotted. But if it's like between branches of a particular bush, then you're not going to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is fine, honestly. I think this is fine. I'd always err on the side of bots being able to see you less than more in most cases.
For sure.
So I think that's kind of all right. They said that it'll be improved further in future patches. Common AI of all difficulty levels, sniper scavs, raiders, rogues, and boss guards, excluding bosses themselves, now always switch to single fire if fighting at long range. So you won't just get like bursted from a million years away anymore, supposedly. In close range fights, the bot can switch to full auto if the weapon has this option. So that's good. I mean, that's one of the issues of just them just firing on full auto over distances that are just unreasonable with the guns they have.
Yeah, I mean, I dare say this might make Lighthouse ever so slightly more playable because like that's kind of a huge thing. Like, because when I first read it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cute, and then I actually thought about it a bit more. I was like, oh, it's like they specifically call it sniper scavs, raiders, rogues, and bosses, and like how many times has like a raider or even especially a rogue on Lighthouse just like beamed you from, you can't see them because they're like on like the other side of the map, or there's like that weird smoke part where kind of near the card extract, and it's like it's so like dampening to your vision when you're like right next to it because it like darkens everything. Like it does some really weird stuff I've noticed. But anyways, I digress. Just getting beamed from there is just like a nightmare. So I'm very grateful that they did this type of I don't know, like rework / improvement, because it's just like it's gonna feel so much better when I get one tapped instead of when I get, full autoed.
Exactly. So we'll have to see, especially with rogues. I think that's the thing,
Yeah,
especially with
that's the
rogues.
big one.
We'll have to see. There's some stuff about sniper scavs later that are kind of interesting, but bosses themselves can still full auto you.
Mm-hmm.
It seems, from quite long ranges. So, one interesting thing about this is that, other than the actual bosses, this may prevent you getting the like triple tap thing that people are always
Right.
going
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Which no one's still quite sure is it a bug? Is it not? Is it because
Is it a feature?
yeah? Is it because there is no other player
Mm-hmm.
on the other end? Right. It is the server. So the server, like the calculation usually
Right.
goes like from one client to the server and then back to the other client and to the server and back to one client. Right. Whereas it's like Tagilla is inside the server, right? He's like part of the
Yeah.
server calc. So the server goes, oh, he fires and hits, fires and hits, fires. Oh, you're dead. But like at that point, you haven't even received the first one.
He has a
From
zero
the
ping
client's perspective.
advantage, basically.
Exactly. You got zero ping advantage to just beam you before you even receive any shots. So it's yeah, no one's really quite sure. But anyway, the bosses aren't included in this, unfortunately. So they will still be able to just full auto us from any distance. But yeah, we'll see for the others whether that helps with that. Reduce the distance to which bots relay information about an enemy. So this, I'm pretty certain this section pertains to how you just get absolutely swarmed constantly, PvE mode.
Praise Nikita. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So previously, if a bot saw an enemy or lost contact with a previously spotted enemy, this is interesting, by the way, because I didn't quite know how this worked. If a bot saw an enemy or lost contact with a previously spotted enemy, they would report it to other bots around them. This created too much AI pressure on the player, with groups of bots coordinating and attacking the player in cover. After this adjustment, the information relay distance has been reduced to 50 meters if the bot is not in a group. However, AI scavs can group together, in which case the information is relayed to a further distance. And what's like super funny about this is it just really explains like why it was so insane sometimes, because you can imagine this like chain reaction of like one bot talks to another bot, talks to another bot, in this, and it's like talks is a sort of very
but it keeps
generous
like
word here.
daisy chaining further and further out to like, because
Effectively, yeah.
the classic one in my mind, it stands out as customs with the new map rework, and in some ways it might be kind of a shame, because the one quest from Ref where you had to go and plant those Wi-Fi cameras in the new area, and then you had to later kill like 20 or so things in there. It could be anything, but like scavs were like an easy no-brainer, AI scavs especially. But you would like, I actually did that quest all in one raid, and I had like 25 or like close to 30 kills, but like they just kept coming, because they would come from like the stronghold side, they would come from like the new gas side, like they would just, it was like Horde Simulator, and it was so bad that there was so many bodies you actually couldn't loot any, because they would like sneak up on you and kill you or like shoot you. So there was like all of this loot for some player scav to come and like get absolutely loaded, because scavs now have like pretty good loot on them. Like they're kind of just like loot boxes, loot pinatas. But anyways, in some ways, like this might, we'll see how it goes, but it was kind of nice for that one very particular thing. But for me personally, that was probably one of the bigger gripes about this patch for me was, and I'm glad they called it out here, because this is how I felt. It's like, this created too much AI pressure on the player with groups of bots cooperating and attacking the player in cover, which was just kind of how it felt. It just felt so overwhelming that like the strategy for me became like kill us, like if you get shot at a scav or you shoot a scav, like just run, like just full on sprint away, because you're not gonna be able to do anything in that zone, because you're just gonna get swarmed. So
yeah, that definitely did happen, and you're quite right about the inability to loot, because they're just constantly coming as well, and because of the way the sound is, sometimes you just don't hear them, and then they just appear out of nowhere and just start like blasting you. It's like so annoying. But what's like really telling about this is that it's like after this adjustment, the information relay distance has been reduced to 50 meters. Right, 50 meters it's still quite a long way.
Yeah,
and the fact that this is the much smaller radius is really telling as to how wide it was before. If there were scavs on the map, they were coming basically to come and find you. And on some maps where they just repeatedly spawned over and over, that's actually addressed in a second. So yeah, common AI over all difficulty levels can no longer use suppressive fire, which I think is actually a bit of a shame. Because that was actually kind of all right. I think like maybe this is a little bit too far, but it's fine. The ability is still available for raiders, rogues, and bosses with guards. So like, I guess you can. It gives you more information now. Like if you're getting suppressed, you know it's guards now. So
Yeah.
there's like some more. There's like a tell there or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the suppressing thing was like kind of interesting, but it does basically say here that like previously AI would use suppressive fire enemy behind cover. Accidental kills through thin cover with suppressive fire I love this, created the feeling that AI always tracked the player through walls,
I see.
which led to mostly negative gaming experience. And now I don't know whether this is just like worded carefully, created the feeling that AI always tracked the player through walls, because the AI definitely does track the player through walls, regardless of what Nikita says, because you can see it when you're scabbing, and there's scavs like walking up through factory, pointing into the office and stuff like this, right? The AI does definitely point at, well, maybe it points at sounds or something. I don't know, but it very much looks like it points at the player with a name bot. Like it's very, very clear in some cases that seems to be what's going on. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that one plays out. Like I quite like the suppression. It did make them feel more real in some ways. But yeah, now there's more of a tell to be able to know if you're being shot at by bosses or whatever. Because if you're getting suppressed, then you know it's going to be them now.
I just really
Anything to say
appreciate
before we move on?
the call out. Like it feels like they don't do this a lot, but like kind of like the call out as to why they made a change, which I appreciate, because they said, this created a feeling that the AI was tracking, and it led to a mostly game experience. So like I appreciate that stuff. I hope they do more of that.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. Increase the temporary AI accuracy loss when being hit by 30%. So if you're shooting at a scav, it's going to make it harder for them to shoot you back. Sounds reasonable,
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable. There's nothing worse than shooting a scav like 4 times and then they just headshot you. It's just annoying. Like I know other players can do that. You don't need to, like, the scavs don't need to be treated fairly. They're an AI construct. It's fine. Like it's okay to just repeatedly shoot them and have them just being getting pin cushioned and then die. That's fine. It's okay. That's about the player experience. So this is the one that I was thinking about for interchange. Bot spawn points can no longer be used too frequently. So this kind of interlinked with the relay distance.
Oh my
god!
Before.
If a bot spawn point is not blocked by nearby players but has been utilized before, it will have a continuously increasing availability timer. So you're not just, because you do get that in certain sections of the map. If you're sat in a certain place and you're like just outside because it says here, it's not blocked by nearby players. So they've got radiuses or something. But if you had access to the system, you would be able to find places where it's either exploitable or you find like gaps within it where you can be stood. It's a little bit like the spawn points on Last Hero in Arena, right? So you can be stood at a certain distance but still see a spawn point, and they've got rid of some of those, but there's still some there. It's a bit the same like that. And yeah, I have seen some people being like, wow, it's actually going to make quests a little bit harder, like some of the scav quests. But overall, it's probably a good thing because, you're not just going to get swarmed infinitely. Like you'll still probably get quite a few, but with the increasing availability time and that spawn point then slowly gets deprioritized and deprioritized and deprioritized as more and more spawn through there. So if you can hold out, you should actually, the flow should stop at some point, which is kind of good.
Yeah.
And the same again for this next one. A singular player will also no longer be the trigger for too many bot spawns. If a particular player is very successful at killing bots within a single raid, the system will no longer maintain a dynamic rate and create a constant influx of bots. A singular player can be the trigger for a random number of enemies, but no more than a certain value. So all of these things are coming together to just stop you just getting completely swarmed, because I think that's where people did experience that in PvE first, that you fire what, like, heaven forbid the player who fires the first shot, suppressed or unsuppressed, didn't seem to make any difference. All the scavs would just congregate on your nearby location, and that was then the same in PvP. This one is controversial. Common AI of all difficulty levels, including sniper scavs, will no longer be the first to shoot at long range, even when they have detected an enemy. Now, if an enemy is detected at a very long range, the bot, being uncertain of their skills, will prefer to take cover and switch to a waiting tactic. However, if the player themselves has detected the bot and attacked them, then the bot will shoot back. I think this is fine, except for maybe the sniper scav bit. Sniper scavs will no longer shoot at people. I don't know, I'm torn, because it's annoying getting shot across half the map.
I forgot, I remember reading this, but I didn't pay close attention to the including sniper scavs portion. So I'm kind of already in agreement with you, but continue.
Yeah, I think it's fine for normal scavs, but the sniper scavs thing is like, I need to see how they lay out, like, or what range
Right.
they are going to shoot at you from. Maybe there's a different. They must have a different range, I would imagine.
I'm
I mean,
pretty
they have better
sure.
guns, so there's probably a factor for that. So it makes sense. I can see why they're doing it. And I guess if it means that Sniper Scav will no longer shoot you outside of like 2-story dorms at the backside, that's probably okay.
Yeah, that one is pretty annoying.
Sometimes it's a bit much.
Yeah, that one is annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely something that are a lot. And other ones like, I mean, again, they're kind of like fair if it was a player, but they're not players, so we don't need to be fair to them. It's like Sniper Scavs on power station roof that will shoot you from a very long way away. There's certainly some places that are quite annoying. So we'll see. But I mean, in some places, taking cover and switching to a waiting tactic might actually be more irritating. So we'll have to see, because they could just be like hidden behind a wall. They know you're there, and then they're hiding behind a wall waiting for you to turn up, and then whatever.
I was thinking for common AI difficulty levels, the one that came to mind was like customs again near checkpoint, the little shack there. Like there's so many times where like you're back at a gas station, or like I don't know, even just like pathing towards the inner wall, and there's little like gaps as you go by, like it just get like shot at, or even like up on top of the hill, like, and there's so much like greenery and trees and stuff, like it just gets really muddy. So I don't know, I think it would be, depending on how it plays out, it could be very interesting if like they see you but you're so far away, where they actually just like reposition and more like an ambush type of thing, which would like shake it up a bit more. That could be fun, but we'll see.
Yeah. So the last one on this one is improve the AI positioning system. The change will help improve the behavior in a group, reduce the number of situations in which bots are moving too close to each other or occupying the same cover. With this system, we'll be able to fix bugs relating to bots colliding with each other more efficiently.
Nothing like the two bots walking inside of each other, one facing one angle and the other one facing a completely different angle. But like some type of
both sort of
Elder Rich nightmare horror scav.
Yeah. Crabbing together, one breaches the door closed, and then they both warp through it.
Yes.
Yeah. Proper Forces of Chaos, Warhammer 40,000 style stuff going on. Yeah, it's crazy. So, we'll see. I haven't actually played. As I said, I've not played with this yet because of just the way that things, like, I've been away. I was away on like Thursday, so I didn't get to play Thursday, Friday, and I've only played a bit of Arena over the weekend, just on my own. But so we'll see tomorrow. I was supposed to be doing like a regular stream tonight, but then we did this Scav Talking test, which is fine. So I'll have a go tomorrow and see how it feels, and sort of take it from there. Other fixes that we've got, we will see. I don't know whether this stuff is fixed or not. I'm losing the will to test these things at this point. It seems it's basically like at this point, could people do it at different times. Seems like basically HyperRat is like taking upon himself to become like BSG's main QA tester, and then I take his results and then go and actually put them into a scientific environment, which is quite funny. I usually hear about this stuff through him first now, because he keeps jumping on and like testing things. It's quite funny. But so fixed an issue where the thorax hitbox would not receive damage if a bullet had penetrated the arm before hitting the thorax. It says it's fixed, guys. It says it's fixed. Whether it's fixed, I can't tell you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear I've seen this like at least 3 times in the past however many patch updates we've covered this wipe.
Yeah, so the full system was the full thing, and this was going on since November, where and again it was actually HyperRat who pointed it out, and this was the classic like, XMC is not shooting through the arm and then into the chest, even with the AP bullet, it should go through the arm, through the plate, into the chest and kill him. So that got like raised in November or something, and then I only got around to it in January to actually looking at it. I think it was either January or February, and I was like, okay, let's go and actually properly test it and see what's going on and make a video, and did that and was just like, okay, it's true. If you get shot through the arm, it hits the plate, it damages the plate, and then nothing happens. There's nothing else goes through with the Golnik or M905 or anything like that. So for the big bullets, the big like tanky, chunky bullets, it makes them a lot less powerful. Actually, like it's quite a big nerf to things like M61 and stuff, bizarrely, which is actually it's actually like probably kind of good in some ways, but it makes arms too powerful basically, for high pen stuff. So they fixed that, and they did actually fix it, and then I don't know whether they introduced the neck thing at the same time, But this was the one where then if you shot into the neck and it hit the plate at the same time as the neck when someone's facing forwards, you got a double shot and hit them in the thorax, right? And so that happened, and it was just like, okay. Then they were like, oh, we fixed it. We fixed the thorax thing, the double shot bug.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, I think it was either fixed for like 2 days or something, or it wasn't fixed at all. I think because the arm thing got fixed first, and then this other bug appeared. And the long and the short of it was somehow, somewhere along the line, they managed to not fix the double shot bug and bring the arm bug back. Except it was even worse now because, as per the note here, right, like it didn't even matter if it was high pen or not anymore because it would go into the arm and that was it. The arm was like completely impenetrable. It had nothing to do with pen. You just would never go through. So it was like even worse. So people were tanking like crazy. And this, I do think this has something to do with my recent experience using the SVD. So I'm going to chalk it down to that and not a skill issue. But we'll discuss that in a minute. But yeah, it like really affects high pen, high caliber stuff that is, you got a spectrum of Tarkov weapons, right? You've got the Kedda on one end, and you've got like the XMC on the other.
Sure.
Like the Kedda and those kind of guns, you're trying to get a headshot. The leg meta aside, you're trying to get a headshot most of the time. You're trying to hit them in the eyes and kill them. XMC, with AP or whatever. Again, you try. I guess that maybe the XMC isn't such a good example, but it's okay-ish. I guess with AP is that you're okay getting a thorax shot. If you've got the MDR with M61, you're all right getting.
Even
with FMJ, you're okay getting.
It's not that bad.
Like it's not that bad. I mean, with the Bolty, it's not great, but yeah, if you've got like the semi-auto version, then the Mjolnir, then it's okay. But you don't need the headshot, and that's kind of the balancing factor. And the fact that you don't need the headshot means you can go for the thorax shots, and then the fact that there's more recoil is then not necessarily as punishing because the ammo kind of makes up for it, etc., etc. But then when the arms are blocking all the hits to the thorax, the only way that you're going to actually kill them is by shooting them in the face because the arms are in the way of the chest half the time. Oh, and to add insult to injury, by the way, I don't know whether I mentioned this last time, but the way they changed like the poses thing, because I pointed out in one of my videos that
remember this.
I was interested in the canted meta. Yeah, so the whole like canted grip with the canted sight on, and no matter what you did to the gun, it was looking identical from the outside, right? So I had like an AK with the canted, everything canted, and I had an AK that was like just stock with nothing, not even a foregrip, and the resulting position of the player's arms was the same no matter what from the outside, and they've actually changed that back to the way it used to be. So the canted thing is like the arms are actually covering the body, and because of the way the bug was happening, it meant that it was just uber powerful. There's like a whole load of stuff. There was just like a ton of stuff that was all layering over each other. It was like people using, no volumetric lighting with flashlights at the same time as using canted meta to cover their own thorax. It was just like, oh my god, this is like we've got to like the meta. Like you gotta be hitting these like 4 bugs, otherwise you're not effective in combat. Which is just
exactly.
like it really put me off playing actually in that period, and I think that contributed to a little bit of just like. And just oh god, like I don't even feel like I really want to play with all of this garbage in the game right now. So the canted, like it does look different now. So the guy does actually move his arms round, and it's quite different. So that contributed towards this arm bug being really bad. So I hope to God that this is fixed. I really do. I mean, maybe I'll just go and test it, but. I really hope it's fixed. I've not seen anybody say anything yet, but like most people don't test anything, and unless you actually do go and test it, it's very hard to know. I'm not sure. So that remains to be seen. We'll talk about that again in a minute. Numerous bugs related to bot behavior, getting stuck, positioning, target visibility, blah blah blah. Fixed several issues that caused bots to pass through closed doors. I actually misread that. When I was like pre-reading this after reading the previous one, I thought it said cursed somewhere in here because it is cursed when they float through the closed door. So fix several issues that cause bots to pass through closed doors. The door interaction system will be adjusted in the future and we'll monitor the related issues if they arise. Because it's pretty consistent. If the player opens the door, Scavs will close it and then walk through it.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent. It happens almost every time. Fix various issues with transparent geometry rendering and conflicts with visual areas such as smoke, water, fire, and fog. I think this is maybe to do with the when it's foggy and you get the windows that are very, very dark. They're like black through the fog and it looks bad on like streets and stuff.
Yes,
maybe to do with that.
Maybe.
And also to do with maybe like the way some of the smoke grenades interact with stuff. Sometimes they're really weird.
So like
maybe
the smoke will be fine, but something in the background, usually like glass that's transparent, will be like black, like completely, like you could see
yeah.
like a militarized vehicle to have like some type of windows, and the windows through the smoke will just be like a complete black standing out. Meanwhile, you can't make out anything else through the smoke. It's really weird.
Yeah, and then sometimes you get like weird stuff like silhouetted.
Yeah.
It's like an outline of people and stuff. It's like really weird. It's like really, really strange. So we'll see. We'll see. Fix the cause of a sharp sound when equipping headsets during strong wind. I've never heard that. Fixed a 100% chance of an arm fracture after failing the quick time event in the gym. Fix the balance of bullets hitting the player. Now, I think this is most likely, and again, I haven't heard it yet, but this is most likely to do with people getting hit in the head, because a lot of people have been complaining about the very loud sound of getting hit in the head, especially when you're wearing a helmet and you take a headshot. It's extremely loud, and it's actually like flaring up people's tinnitus and stuff. Like it's pretty bad. So I hope that that's what that is to do with. Some incorrect reverb on interchange. Fix cause of missing BTR driver tasks who fulfilled it in PvE. Some stash item stuff. Some unheard bonuses in PvE mode. This one's weird. They fixed the issue with the NFM helmet not blocking damage to the back of the head. Maybe it's just an incorrectly parameterized armor piece or something. And transitions between locations in PvE will now take account the offline-online mode before starting the raid. So I think there was some... I can't remember the exact ins and outs of this. I did see a post about this, and it was something to do with the fact that if you're on PvE and you go into offline mode on your own, and then you die or disconnect or whatever, you lose everything. Or you were, at least. So that's now been fixed. Because that's obviously quite annoying. If you go to offline mode and then lose all the stuff you brought in. Not really how it's supposed to work.
So not like your entire stash, but just the stuff you brought in.
Just the stuff you brought in.
But that's still pretty bad. Right. Doesn't really make any sense.
Especially if you're testing and stuff. You usually bring in, it depends what you're doing, but often if you're doing a test and you bring in like heaps of stuff, like big bags and then loads of armors, whatever, and then you're like, wait, where's it all gone?
Yeah, that would suck.
Really annoying. Yeah. Okay, so that's the patch stuff. That's the patch stuff. Anything else to add? Anything to note? Anything interesting there?
I don't think so. I mean, we could move on to the few Nikita leaks that we have. I mean, just kind of like his typical reels, like a bunch of like short clips smashed together. I haven't seen this one because my Tarkov feed has been absolutely destroyed by the Latin America promotional sales stuff, I guess, or whatever they've been retweeting. But otherwise, I mean, looks like some footage. We got some node footage here, some weapon modding, some
goofing around.
This kind of interests me because there's like a character model. It looks like a bear. I don't know if it's a definitively a bear, like an existing bear model that we have. It looks pretty similar, but they're wearing a very like sailor-esque. Like I don't even know what era that would be. Like 1950s, maybe 1970s. I'm not too sure. Sailor uniform, and they have a kind of like a more. But I mean, it's got like a kind of a Russian vibe to it with that hat. I don't really know what to call that. I guess that's not true. Anyways, nonetheless, that's interesting. I don't know what that could possibly mean. Like that seems a bit far fetched for a. Maybe it's a scav uniform. I don't know. Like I couldn't see it being some type. Maybe they would sell it as like a microtransaction thing. Like here's this goofy,
sailor
upper
set.
Yeah, and you get like this hat or something. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Could be something to do with Lightkeeper. I'm not sure.
True. Yeah.
Or terminal, actually. Yeah. Good point from BLP.
Yeah. What was that? Was that wrapping paper with a Tarkov wrapping wallpaper? I love it.
Yeah, they're kind of like some kind of wallpaper things that they've got, which is fun. What's there's a gun at the beginning. I don't know what it is.
It's some type of like H&K, presumably.
But with a sort of wireframe stock of some description. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm sure somebody will tell us who's better at guns. I had a quick look through the comments and no one had really said anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of got the AK like the RPK rear iron sight to it, and where it's kind of like this little, I don't know, just like a hole with a dot in the middle. Someone says a modern AEK prototype. I'm not even sure if I know what that is. Is that like
I think the AEK is like quite a fast firing weapon. I think it's like a fast firing AK basically, from what I remember. It's like a 5.45. What was the? Let me see what Wikipedia says. I think it cycles quickly. This one says 900 rounds per minute.
Yeah, I mean for an AK that's fast, very fast.
Yeah,
actually.
so I remember this being like quite fast. So it's like, yeah, faster than the HK 416 for 5.45.
This would be a great candidate for a boss gun if anyone at BSG is listening. That would be cool.
I honestly, I wouldn't hate it actually. If it was kind of like, an end game weapon or whatever, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. Like 5.45 could do with something like this.
Someone in chat mentioned the AN94. I just have to say, I saw sometime earlier this week that Tarkov SP got a AN94 mod, and it's just like, oh god, I love it so much. It looks so good, like the modeling, and yeah, it's great.
Pretty cool.
I'm praying that Nikita will turn a leaf, because I think he said at one point he was like, it's too like specialized, or it's not very common, like it's too, like it wouldn't make sense to have it in the game, I guess.
Yeah,
but God, I love that. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he said it was like too niche or whatever to have, but like we've got some pretty niche stuff in the game already. I think that's the point a lot of people have made. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many they actually made of these things. Whether it was just a prototype.
Oh, that AEK?
No, if the N94.
Oh, I think it was in service for a period of time, because it was like a Spetsnaz. They're sort of like Navy SEALs, I think. They're more like advanced military specialized force. But I think it got phased out or something. It's really cool though. Like it's such a cool engineering thing as well. And it is cool. The animators for that mod of that weapon, they went like the extra mile and had the actual barrel recoiling into the gun when you used it.
Nice.
And it's got the 2 different fire modes. So pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
It would make BSG proud.
That'd be pretty fun. It's interesting just because it's got this like 2-shot like super burst thing.
Yeah, that's
it's called what's it called? Hyper burst.
Yeah. Which I guess like, the aircraft thing wouldn't really be that good for Tarkov, except for like what 545 BT maybe. What's the damage on that? I forget.
I guess
50 something.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Yeah,
I think it's 37.
Like I mean, maybe
51 damage, maybe
54.
54. Yeah, I mean it'd be okay, but it wouldn't be like an in-game gun. Like maybe, I don't know, because the hyperfire, doesn't it go up? Isn't it like 1800 or something ridiculous?
It is, but in the burst mode. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get slapped by 2 at once.
Yeah, which is like, I mean,
I think that's like it'd be okay though, because you very rarely get 2 shot by 5.45. So unless it's in the head, in which case you're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of alright.
But that was the interesting thing too about why it was developed, because they apparently, for like the range they were, I guess it's like 100 meters. I don't remember, but the idea was like you fire the first shot and you get a little bit of the recoil, but it's like just enough to lift up the gun to like head level. So if you're aiming like center mass at like 100 meters, then the second bullet would hit him in the head. So it's like a supposedly like this guarantee type of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's cool. I really like that gun from childhood, and I just was like fascinated. I was like, History Channel's AN94 videos enter. I love that. I love that. So cool.
So maybe we'll get the speedy AEK then. I mean, they've got it, in the clip, so it looks like they're looking at it at least, and I think that could be okay. So that's kind of neat. Anything else in there? It's interesting. It's a lot of wireframing and then
Not
just messing around
really.
in Blender and Unity engine and whatnot.
Yeah, some like
There's an M4 kind of like
skips.
stop frame thing. That's Arena? That I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah, that
looks
like
like Chop
arena.
Shop the car.
Yeah. I mean, there's this. I didn't really see what this was. Looks like some type of video editor, if I had to guess. And then they're like recording
They're doing
animations,
some, yeah. Is he
using
just like grabbing a
motion
gun or something?
tracking. Yeah,
Hmm.
not really sure. It looks like it might be a an animation for a bike, like someone uh grabbing a mounted weapon.
Maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. So I've been, oh goodness me, SVD and Punisher 6 woes and troubles. Guess how far through I am, Punisher 6. You need 15 kills as a reminder. Is it 15? I'm pretty sure it's 15. You need 15 kills.
How long have
as
you
a
been
reminder.
working on
Guess how
it?
far through I am. Oh, I did one full stream, and I dabbled a couple of places here and there. Maybe I did 2 full streams. I forget now. It was like a fever dream, so I'm not
Dang,
sure.
2 full streams? I don't know. 5? 2?
2.
I was gonna go
2.
with 3, but I didn't want to be offensive.
Yeah, it's partly because I decided what would be a great idea was I was already doing Lightkeeper. And we finally found the CFDM radios.
First mistake.
Mostly through the exactly. I was like, well, we're doing Lightkeeper. We've done the CFDM radios. I was pretty prepared for everything else. There's no big deal. Like everything else was pretty easy up until assessment. And I was like, well, assessment, I usually just brute force it through chalets. But I've got this unprecedented opportunity of playing the snipey map with a big DMR, and I've got 0 out of 15 on assessment, so I can just do that and combine it with Punisher Part 6. It'll be great. And the SVD is probably quite a good map for Lighthouse, and I was very, very wrong. I was very wrong in so many ways. It was very unfortunate series of raids. And then the whole week ended up being a very unfortunate series of just playing Tarkov in general. And what we've talked about previously is kind of the perfect backdrop to this, because the SVD is a bit of a beast anyway. It's a bit of a cumbersome beast. You have to decide whether to be loud or quiet, or actually be able to use the gun or not use the gun and just kind of really chill and wait and have the recoil version and stuff. Like it's a compromise machine, is the SVD. It really is. And I used it on woods one time when I had it loud, just because people were saying like, oh, just like forget about going to press, it sucks too much. And then I had it on loud, and then I fired at one guy, and then literally everyone on the map knew where I was, and I just got everybody just like echo located me like bats and just murdered me on the spot. So I was just like, see, that's why you don't go loud. Like it's just like it's just impossible. If you are loud, then you just have to be really, really. I probably stayed too long, but it's just you have to be so like cognizant of that. Like you get heard. Remember, I did the audio video a while back talking about suppressor distance and this kind of thing. And if you're loud with the SVD, I am yet to find a minimum range. You can be stood at Southern Road. This is very different from other weapons, by the way. You can be stood at Southern Road and you can hear someone fire the SVD in the water treatment facility, which is probably the way it should be, but it's not the case for the RD704. It is not the case for the M4. It's not the case for any other gun that I tested. Every other gun that I tested has a range cut off at some point. Maybe not. I can't even remember. I think the M700 even had a range cutoff. For the SVD, it just goes on forever. I don't know whether it even has a range cutoff. Like you can hear it from across the whole of the Lighthouse map. And so you shoot that thing, everybody knows you're there. Everyone, literally everyone on the map knows that you're there. So you have to be very aware of that. And if you fire the gun, you have to GTFO immediately, which is something I didn't do. But anyway, I'm trying to do that on Lighthouse. It's like, well, I can go suppressed and try and get some sneak around and stuff. And I had like just lots of situations where people I'd see them and I'd fire at them and then they disappear, and then I tried to peek out and then get shot in the head, or like I'd find someone at close range and I'd shoot them 5 times and hit them in the arms because the arm bug. I was trying to play this through the arm bug at the same time, right? And the SVD, it's hard to get a headshot at close range because of the overswing and all the other stuff, especially if you've gone suppressed, which I did half the time. And you're firing. I had PS at the beginning, but then I ran out of that, so I'm using LPS. But you can't pen through somebody's arm anyway because of the bug, and It was just terrible. There's like so many situations where I hit them a bunch of times and couldn't kill them, and then I got clipped in the head with whatever it was. And it's so difficult to get a headshot with that gun compared to the other weapons because it's slow firing and loads of recoil and everything else. So yeah, it was just brutal. And in the end, like it got so bad. This kind of ties into getting out of the Tarkov slump. It kind of like put me into a slump because then even I swapped away from the SVD and I was still just trying to do assessment. I was like, well, maybe I bit off more than I can chew trying to do assessment and Punisher Part 6 at the same time. So let's swap over to the M61 guns again. And I went with the MDR and the Scar H, and Lighthouse just continued to just slap me down over and over. I lost probably like 3 Scar H's, like 3 MDRs, like just one after another, after another, after another. No matter where I went, no matter what I did, what situation I was in, got the first shots on, got seen first. Didn't matter. I just died. And yeah, it's one of those moments that just like you just start to get into your own head about it, and you just start to feel like, and I've been in this situation previously where you start to feel that no matter what you do, when you get into that fight, like you're just going to lose, because it starts to feel like that, especially once it's one session and then another session, and then you have a couple of deaths in the next session. You're just like, man, like I literally just cannot kill people. This is crazy. This is actually crazy. And I think like I had 2 kills, basically kills where I was looking, I don't know, overwatching an area or something, and somebody came up from some other area and were running past and had no idea that I was there, and I could fire at them like completely uninhibited. It was like the only way that I was getting kills at all. And yeah, it gets really demoralizing. Like, and as I said, I've been in this situation previously, so I started dedicating a bit more time to going right back to basics, because you really do have to. Like, it's the only way to survive mentally, I think. And you just go right back to basics and say, look, we're gonna get into a raid, and we're gonna play that raid, and we're just gonna look at the extracts, and we're gonna make a route, we're gonna loot some stuff, and we're just gonna leave. Like, we're just gonna try and get through the map and just try to get some extracts under your belt. Because yeah, once you haven't survived a raid for 5-10 times or something, it starts to get really tough. Like I still haven't like figured out, and I don't know why I'm struggling so much this wipe. Maybe it's the bugs, maybe it's those things. So if I try again, it might be a lot easier. But I don't know why it's so difficult this wipe to do it. I think I've definitely got in my head about Lighthouse for sure for the assessment part of the questing, where previously I used to just say, screw it, I'm just going to run to chalets and fight people at close range, which is what I've done in the past, and I'm not really doing that now, because I feel like, there's that sort of like, there's that chart of like the knowledge, the more you know, the less you know kind of thing. And I think because I didn't really know Lighthouse very well, and Lighthouse just kind of sucked, and I was like, well, I'm just going to spawn where I spawn. I'm going to run to chalet, and if I die on the way to there, then whatever. But now I'm more aware of the spawns. I'm more aware of where I've spawned. I'm more aware of like where people might be, and that's kind of like freezing me into indecision. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to run to chalets because like this guy's going to kill me from here or here or here. And I also feel like Lighthouse has slowed down a lot as people have figured out the way that it pretty much is just optimal to play it. And so now I'm kind of like locked in this sort of like, I'm sort of half playing it the way I want to play it and half playing it the way that the map feels like it has to be played. And then I'm just losing to people playing it slow, but then I'm also losing to people playing it quickly. So it's like I've ended up just like, I'm more knowledgeable now, but actually the results are worse than they were before, because before I was just ignorant. And so I just like YOLO'd it and it was working out. So at least some of the time. Whereas now it's just like every situation I'm in a disadvantage because I'm like overthinking everything. I'm like overthinking my positioning, overthinking the spawns, overthinking where people are, overthinking my own abilities. Like it's just, everything's just, and it's too much. And I'm just getting like locked in indecision. And there's even some situations where I'm just like, I look back and I'm just like, why don't I just do this? Or why don't I just go here or whatever? But there's just like, there's too much. And I'm just like not processing properly. So I'm probably going to have to take a step back from it, try and do the SVD one somewhere else. I mean, a lot of people have suggested Interchange, which is somewhere that I have actually done the SVD before. Like I also suggest it to other people sometimes, but Interchange has also kind of got in my head a little bit recently too. So I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but yeah, for the time being, like from the slump perspective, I'm literally like gone back to playing with like MM4 and just like walking from one side of the map to the other and like leaving with like some stuff. Just to try and like fix my mental state, because it's brutal. It's so brutal, and it's such a mental game once you get into that position. It's hard.
That's interesting that other people suggest Interchange, because that's kind of where I mean, I like Interchange, generally speaking, and that's usually like what I associate Punisher 6. I guess that and Factory, but since you can't do Factory no more, that's kind of gone. Because yeah, I don't know any other. I mean, I was gonna say like customs, but I don't know. Customs is kind of like, especially with the changes now, it's like feels like it's two extremes a lot of times. Like it's either super cramped close quarter combat or it's like mid range S, but it feels like the mid range is kind of complicated now because of all the different angles, and I don't know. It's kind of tricky. But there is some
Yeah, maybe that
spots
makes
that
it
could
okay.
work.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah, I'm not
but
really sure.
yeah, as far as like getting in a rut and like being stuck in your own head in like a video game, oh my god, it's like yeah, definitely had that happen many times, and it's just like I don't know what I don't have an answer for that because that is just like yeah, you're just like overthinking stuff constantly, and it's like you are actually your own worst enemy, and you can't even like it's like to a point where you can't even feel like you're not even capable of identifying what's the problem, and it's just and even attempting to just like feeds into you making more mistakes and identifying that, and it's just it's yeah, I don't like it. So yeah, I don't have any advice for that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard because you're trying to change stuff, and then you're like, I've got like all this advice from people in chat and things, and like everybody's super well meaning, and that's really good. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a very good sniper, right? So like a lot of the instincts that people have about like where to be and what's a good spot and all this stuff, like I just don't do it ever. So it's hard for me to take like the snippets from people saying like, oh, well, what try this or try that, and then suddenly incorporate like those things into like the everything that you have to do when you play Tarkov. I'm
Right,
like
right.
it's difficult. It's like I'm playing maybe 70% or whatever, and I'm trying to add 20% on here, but I'm losing 40% over there. In trying to do so because it's not natural for me to do it, and it's and you're trying to change stuff, and it's like it's like I'm on like you're on one peak, but it's not the highest mountain, but you have to go down into the valley before you come back up to the other mountain top. Like, so it's like really have a total change in the way that you play it. But
I mean, I
yeah, I
hate
don't know.
to.
Like,
I was just gonna say I hate to like simplify the problem, but if what based on what you said, I mean, it sounds like too many. It's like you're doing trying to do too many things, which is like a real problem. And like a lot of these types of games that you and I have played, like I think of Dota 2 is like a great example where it's like you're just like trying to min max every little thing so hard that you lose sight of the big picture.
yeah,
And it's so easy to do. At least for someone like me, it is so easy to do. It's unreal. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I wonder if like Lighthouse was the thing that broke the straws because you kind of have to play that map in a very mindful way, let's say.
yeah.
And it's
That's
also
very diplomatic.
it's also a very like stressful map because
Yeah,
just the things you have to accept about the map. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you do just need like a bit of a reset, and maybe that has to be like so extreme to the case of you're just playing like it's 2018 or whenever 2020, and you're on customs. You picked up 5 items, and you're at the extract or whatever the case may be. Whatever
yeah. It's
gets you
funny, really, because
there.
I think I've almost become like a bit of a problem with comfort map thing as well, because lots of people are saying like, do you not really have like a comfort map to go to? And I'm just like, I don't really, because my favorite map is Streets, but Streets is quite stressful to play and it's quite
Mm,
hard to extract from. So it's not really a great map. Like I did actually end up playing it the other day, but it's not a great map to lean on when you're having a down period, because it's just quite like it's quite congested with threats and
yeah.
difficult situations. So I should revert back to somewhere else. I mean, I've had to be honest, I've had some really good raids on reserve. Like when I've just like gone there either because someone's requested it on
Mm.
Twitch or whatever. I said I turned off the map request
I was
first,
gonna say, you
but
turned it back on.
no, because I had a like this was a bit before, but just turn up on reserve, and it's like once you've got the power cord and the red rebel, you can play around that
Mm,
map like relatively easily. Actually, it's not too bad.
not too bad.
And
Yeah.
I never really visit customs at all. I feel like I'm just like permanently locked into Streets, Lighthouse, Interchange, and it's like, because those are the maps I've ended up. I ended up just playing Streets because I like it, Lighthouse because you have to 1 billion times to get to Lightkeeper, and then Interchange because it's the other lock of stuff. Because I was doing chumming and stuff, it was like the other lock of things that you needed to get to Lightkeeper in the first place. So I've kind of burnt myself out on both of those two maps. But I've played them a lot, so I'm just sort of feel like I'd have to keep going there. But I'm like, no, I should just like go to other places. You know, like Woods, you can often have quite a chill time. Although I had some like really unfortunate raids on Woods, like some super unfortunate ones where I was loud on one map and on one of the raids, and I shouldn't have gone the way I did, and I died. But one of them was there was like a guy, and I was just like, how is he even there? Like I'd like gone through the area, and then I like backtracked on myself because I got shot up from the main woods camp, and then I started getting shot from the side, and I was like, man, I was like there like a second ago, like I didn't even hear him as well. So like he was either completely stationary or he like turned up and I just didn't hear him or whatever. But like at that time, I started getting shot as well from a scav from like the SUV, you know, the sort of like USEC checkpoint thing. And I was just like, oh my god. I was like, well, I either have to deal with the player in the forest or the scav out on the road. Like I have to choose one of them. And I chose to try to fight the player, and the scav shot me in the side of the head. And I was just like, man, that is like so frustrating that I get pincered by these two people. I'd like, it was just like really unfortunate. And I do think that there's just so many things to it, and that's why I needed to just like take it back to basics, because Lighthouse is like, it's pretty rough to play. The SVD is a rough gun. The bugs that were present while I was playing, which hopefully are gone now, like the arm bug made the SVD in particular very difficult to play. And you got to get to the right section of the map as well, because if you're doing assessment, you have to be below the village, otherwise they don't count. So it's just like there are just so many things, like too many things layering on top of each other to make it too difficult. It's like there's always that temptation to combine quests together because it's so much more efficient from a time perspective. But if you spend like 3 raids and you get nothing done on either of them, you're just like, okay, maybe we should just like split these out, because then I can do a lot more. I have a bit more freedom. Like every time you take on another quest mentally to do in tandem, you kind of lock yourself down a little bit more in one way or another. And so I think maybe that's what happened exactly. And then Lighthouse definitely got to my head. So probably should just like go to some other places. Maybe I'll even try customs actually, because with the new area, I did a little bit of sniping on that because of, I mean, this is a while back. This is early wipes, but that was because of setup and using the MPA team. So I've tried a bunch of places on customs for longer range shots and kind of have some areas, and the map's not that big that you can't chase shots when you hear them and get into a good position and stuff. So maybe I'll try that as well. Yeah, I'll have to see. But no, it's tough. It's tough. You just have to make. I think you just have to make your goal. And this is what I did last time this happened. You just have to make your goal the extract. That's it. You just extract.
Yeah,
that's the goal. You go
that's
in.
The ultimate win condition.
The goal is to extract. Yeah, and you just have to get out. Doesn't matter if you've got lots of stuff, little stuff. You just make yourself a nice path. Get through, maybe kill a scav or 2, and just leave. And you just need to see the green extracted survival bonus times 1.5 on your measly XP that you got, just so that you can run a kid a few times and not feel like you're just dying every single raid, because it does eventually get to you. It eventually got to me, and I think also, and like knowing there were bugs in the game too that make it harder, I just kind of got to the point where I was just like, man, I'm not really enjoying this actually. I'm actually not enjoying playing now, which is unusual for me. Like I almost always enjoy my time on stream because I get to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I do because I'm not playing all the time. And but it is annoying when there's certain things that you want to do to progress. Like I would really like to get to Lightkeeper, and it's just so specific the stuff you have to do.
Yeah,
it's a bit painful. So then I have to just like keep chugging through that. It's annoying. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not imperative that I do Lightkeeper. I just feel like I want it because I've done it like basically every wipe. And this wipe, I'm just like struggling through trying to get there. I didn't even need to do Punisher Part 6. So the only reason why did I even want to do that in the first place? Oh yeah, it's because the reason why I wanted to do Punisher Part 6 is because I wanted to craft BP. I remember now. That was why. Because until you do Punisher Part 6, you can't do Intimidator.
Yeah.
Intimidator is the BP craft, and I was like, well, I kind of want to run the RD704 and stuff, but I've only got so much BP, and I don't have Ref 4 yet, so I actually have no way of getting BP right now. So that was the rationale for doing it in the first place. And I was like, oh, I'll combine it with assessment. It'll be great. And then I just got Lighthouse over and over again. like a week basically. And like I think I raided Hayes and was just like, yo, what's up? Just getting like destroyed. I literally just like didn't extract today. And he's just like, oh man, it's like sometimes you just have one of those sessions and it's bad and that it'll get better next time. And I was just like, I didn't say anything, but I was just like, yeah, this is like the third stream yeah, in a row. I think at this point, I think it's me, It's like, God. Oh, it's rough. This game sometimes is rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking
Yep.
too, it's kind of interesting because customs and I would say like shoreline and like a little bit of woods have kind of been, and then like factory, but like those, that kind of like core have been kind of like the early game questing maps largely.
Yeah.
And even like woods back in the day used to be a lot like kind of like a side stuff you could do. I guess Jaeger, you had to level him up, and then the factory was like, there was a couple milestones, like the delivery from the past, and then the killing PMCs in the office for Jaeger. But it's like you pay a lot of customs, you pay a lot of shoreline, and then eventually you get to the point where it's like, oh, I got Ragman, I need to do some of his quests, but then you go back to like that core, and it's not until you get to like the higher levels where it's like, Lighthouse, Interchange. I mean, for me, Interchange was like the big one back in the day. I mean, I liked the map, but in general, it just felt like some of the kill quests and then some of the other quests were like, like kill his helmet, for example, because you get a lot of those boss quests kind of on the higher end of the spectrum. Or at the very least, you get them late enough where it's like still just like because everyone's needs them, it's like makes it really hard boss hunting. But anyways, point being is it's kind of interesting how, which maybe it's changed a little bit, but it's like the game is sort of like directing you in a way where, especially if you don't like any of these particular late game questing maps, they kind of like get pushed even further back down your like to-do list line, which doesn't, it's like you're delaying the inevitable, and so to speak,
Yeah.
So
I think
kind
that's
of an
especially
interesting
true for
thing.
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely true for some of the others. I mean, because you used to have to do like long line and stuff on Interchange. You don't really need to do that now. It doesn't really unlock anything particularly good now. Because you used to
That
get
was the one I was thinking
TTSK rig and
Yeah.
that gave you the level 6 armor that was like easy to run. But you don't really need to do that anymore.
Back
You just
when
do
it
if
was
you
the
want to.
AAC or ACCP, I think it is.
Oh yeah, and then it was AAC CCP at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even know what it. I don't even know what it gives you now. Actually,
I think it doesn't give you. I think it gives you a rig, but it doesn't actually unlock anything. If I recall, I might be wrong.
Apparently, it now gives you a couch bag and a Reese tea.
Okay, I mean,
and like 84k XP.
Yeah, so it gives you stuff, but doesn't give you access to stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes it a lot less appealing. Largely.
Yeah. So I guess like most people don't bother. I don't. Is it Kappa required? Feels like it would be, maybe.
Oh boy, I don't know about that one.
Oh no, it's not. It's not even required for Kappa, so you don't even need to do it. Interesting. Yeah. No, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, dude, it's just Lighthouse again. It's just like comes back to the same old conversation.
I don't know, man. I genuinely hope they rewrite that map. Is the only, because I just don't know if I can ever play that map again. I mean, as I said many weeks ago, it's just like I was thinking about doing it when me and my friend were playing, and like in hindsight, I'm glad we didn't, because I just felt like it would have just ruined a lot more fun that we were having, So I don't know. I mean, it could have been fine, but it's just like, is it worth it? Do I really need M80? That's mainly it, really. It's just like the M80, and maybe I'm like thirsty to do some quote unquote easy task on Lighthouse, which is a misnomer. There is no easy task on Lighthouse.
It's called easy job on purpose. I swear. I swear to you. Thing is, I did all those, right? Like I did all those ones. I did I haven't done reconnaissance because I couldn't be bothered to get the front plate, because that's like the early easy level 3 prep, or like the earliest thing you can do, golden egg for a current front plate barter for doing recon. But you have to get on top of all 3 of the buildings. You can do it over many raids, so you can literally just like do a pistol run and eventually get the right one and just like sprint up onto the roof and die. You can do that like 3 times, especially if you're USEC. If it's bear, it's a lot harder, obviously. But as USEC, you can just like run up there and then, bandit sighted, and then they just like murder you on the spot. But hopefully you've got collected the roof of each. You don't need to do it in one go. But by the point I was even there, I was at level 4 purple, so I could just like buy a Corund. But so I didn't bother with that. But I did the M81. I did like most of the others, easy job 1 and all of those things. It's the Lightkeeper stuff that's now difficult. Like I think the only other thing other than assessment that's in my way is the V3 flash, which is always like that's a right pain.
That's the one where you got to grind spawns to find a flash drive. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the 20 spawns one. Yeah, there's another one which is like the body, the dongle body, which is annoying, but that's got like 9 of the 20 spawns are outside the water treatment facility, so you can just like you can do it like 1 to 4 times, and eventually if you hit all the spawns, then hopefully with the RNG you don't get the 0.2% chance that you just don't find it like 6 raids in a row or whatever. So that one's fine. But the other one, the V3 flash, it's like that all 20 spawns are in water treatment in some fashion, and they are annoying, and some of them are behind keyed rooms, and some of them are like literally out in the open, and it's not great. It isn't great. So that's only the only other hard one though. Like if I start playing, I don't even know how I'm going to play Lighthouse now. It's just like, even playing it like full auto close range mode, I just don't even know how I'm going to do it now, other than just like trying to run up to chalets. I just don't get the spawns for it so often. And even if you do go there, it's like people are just stationary in there. So it's just hard to play on that map now. I do genuinely think the player base has changed the way that they play, and it's like devolved. The map has like devolved. It's almost been, it's like, the map has kind of been like solved.
It's the lowest common denominator type of thing.
Basically, like previously when people were just kind of doing whatever, there were a lot of people who were sniping on Lighthouse, but there was a lot of people that weren't.
Yeah.
And I feel for just more and more people over time kind of realize like, this is how the map is, and there's not really any other way to play it. Like there just isn't really. And I was talking about this on stream, just being like, on woods, you can play woods with a red dot like just fine.
Yeah.
And as long as you use the lay of the land, you can be smart about it and be in cover and use the the defilé, as they call it. You got like down in the little like valleys and stuff, so you're not like exposing yourself too much. But on Lighthouse, you just don't have that choice. So I feel like the gameplay has actually just devolved and distilled down into this the lowest common denominator of gameplay. And it's that means that you run to chalets or whatever, and it's like there's not even anybody there. There's like someone on one of the rocks nearby trying to snipe you as you come through the doorway, or it's just like it's that kind of thing. It's not like you find somebody there like chatting it out in chalets now with an M1A with a 50 rounder in. Like I had some great fights like 2-3 patches ago, 2-3 wipes ago with people there, and now it's like super rare to find people there in that capacity. It's just like people trying to like not be seen and be very very still, or going right around the edge of the map, like right at the edge, and just like scanning and just like being real slow. Because it's the best way to play. Like it's the meta way to play. So I don't blame anybody for doing it, but the map dictates the play style. And I feel like as more people have just figured it out, it's meant that the map just is like not fun for a certain segment of the player base. There's a load of people who really love Lighthouse and like it because it plays into that play style. But like you can't play it any other way than that play style. So those people like it, but it's inherently unbalanced because there's nothing else you can do. Whereas on all the other maps, even woods, shoreline, whatever, I would argue you could play those maps with other play styles. You can play a bit more run and gun, a bit more full auto, red dots and hollows. Like that's fine. Like even shoreline, you can do that. And I've done it loads of times. That's my preferred play style, and it's okay. And there's some situations you're in a disadvantage, and that's fine. But you have a way to flank, to get out, maneuver, you painkiller yourself. You jump down, you like get behind a bit of cover and do like a really wide flank and come round because they're probably not moving that much. So you have an ability to kind of do something. But on Lighthouse, like I think that's the thing. There's just like there's no flanking opportunities really. Like, there sort of are, but if somebody's like up on the big hill, for example, it's like, well, what are you going to do? Like, where are you going to flank? You're going to flank into the middle of the main road. You're going to flank along the beach. Like, it's not an option that you really have. and it's quite different to the other maps in that way. So I almost feel like at peace with it now. It's like we've talked it through enough. I've seen it talked through on the community enough. I've looked at it myself, analyzed it myself, and just gone, yeah, this is just the way it is until they make a change to it. I don't know really exactly what they should do, but it's fine. I've sort of made my peace with it and been like, okay, if we are going to play there, you have to play it in this very particular way, and that's fine. And I'm not that good at that particular play style, but that's fine. I'll try and compete that way with it and see how it goes. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see.
My heart goes out to you, Giga. I wish you the best on that one front.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to go back to it straight away, but
yeah,
it's in the back of my mind. It's brewing. It's waiting. I know it's there. So we'll see when I go back. But for the meantime, I'm just kind of I'm just sort of enjoying myself doing other stuff.
That's good. Yeah, because I mean, realistically, there really is no rush. It's super unlikely BSG is going to do tomorrow we're launching an event. Oh, by the way, you have to have Lightkeeper online. Like it's just not going to happen, right? So
yeah,
definitely,
exactly.
That's Tomorrow Beef's problem,
Exactly. Yeah, I was trying to do some other stuff like doing the guide and marathon at the same time and things like that, which I got up to interchange and died unfortunately to some random guy, which is just kind of whatever it happens. But that was at least because the guide and marathon is like kind of chill at least sometimes. Like, most of the time you just don't see anybody, and you can now. This is a good pro tip to anybody who's thinking about doing it because you get a butt ton of US dollars for doing the guide. The guide's actually very profitable. So it's quite a good quest if you want to like bolster up your cash. Like I'm not actually that rich this wipe for various reasons. I mean, it depends. I mean, I could build it up. I think it's because I get to like 10 mil and then I'm just kind of like, whatever. And then I like stop cycling my head out and stuff. I'm just kind of like, well, I've got enough to last. And then I play, I think it's because of this period too, where I've had like, 3 full streams or something where I'm just like dying. And I'm just like 9 mil, 8 mil, 7 mil, 6 mil, 5 mil, 4 mil. I'm like, oh crap, I might actually run out of money. Like, for like the first time in like many, many, many patches, I'm just like, I might actually go bust if I keep going this way. So I was like, maybe we'll have a look at doing the guide because you get like, if you got Intel Center level 2, you get $28,750, which is like a lot. That is at the current exchange rate. I think that's 4.3 mil equivalent. So you can buy MAT, like all sorts of stuff, attachments, whatever, for ages, and that money that you would be converting, you're not. So it's slowly bolsters your rubles up as you just buy directly in dollars and not have to buy them. So I was like, oh, maybe we should do that. And so if you're doing the guide now, you can do marathon and the guide at the same time. Like the marathon, it's a little bit weird. Marathon requires you to use the extract from every map except for Shoreline, which makes the pathway. I think we've talked about this before, but it makes the pathway a bit annoying because ground, like you basically have to double back on yourself at some point, unless you do. I think you have to actually, because Ground Zero is a spoke on its own.
Right.
There's nothing else it connects to other than streets. And because there's no link from labs back to factory, labs only points at streets, and Ground Zero also only points at streets, which makes marathon a bit of a pain because you have to use the extract on labs to streets, and you also have to use the extract on Ground Zero to streets. So there is no route, I believe, where
you have to do some type of backtracking.
Where you can't double back, except there is one route where it's possible, and because you don't have to use the one on Shoreline, so you can technically start on Lighthouse, for example. So you ignore Shoreline completely. You never play that map. This is if you're just doing marathon, by the way. If you're doing the guide, you have to do Shoreline. So if you're doing them together, you could technically start on Shoreline, extract to Lighthouse, and this is the important point about the guide: is that you can use the transit, and it counts for the guide. So you don't need to wait 7 minutes anymore, which is actually really good.
Yeah,
it's really good because the transits are now 1 minute timer rather than waiting for 7 minute no run through like the old guide used to be. Put on all your best gear with a thermal and then lie in the corner for 7 minutes. The quest. But yes, you could technically start on Shoreline, transit to Lighthouse, do all the other transits, and then you could do the last run. The last like leg of it is factory to labs to streets
to Ground Zero,
streets to Ground Zero. But you still do need to go ground zero back to streets, but you don't need to extract out of streets. I don't think is the deal. Yeah, this is the problem. You still kind of have to get back on yourself because you have to use that last one. But I don't want to do factory or labs anywhere near that late in the list, not ever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do them
That makes
first.
sense.
You know, I've always been of the opinion because some people are like, oh, they do labs later because they don't want to have to use a labs card, and I'm just like, I will pay 170,000 rubles to not do labs later. You know, I don't mind.
Yeah.
So I do factory first and then labs, and then. So I did factory labs, streets, ground zero streets, interchange. I died on interchange, sadly. I had a pretty horrible spawn. I had like the which one would it be? Like
Probably
basically railway, like there's like the middle like railway spawn.
Yeah,
like the one between, it's like just in no man's land between the scav camp and the other side. It's like, God, this is just like awful. So and the transit is through scav camp on the other side. And it's just like, man, like people go there to kill scavs and stuff. Like, am I just gonna wait? Like, there's no other way to get there really. I'm either gonna like walk through the car park or like, oh no, I don't really have what to do. So I waited a little bit and then went through scav camp and then got killed by this guy, which is a shame. But after that, it's like relatively plain sailing. You go interchange customs reserve up to woods over to Lighthouse, and then Lighthouse through to shoreline, and then that fixes it. And the path to shoreline transit's like it's in the middle, so you get a spawn for it most of the time, and you can probably wait it out.
Oh no, wait.
Which one? Sorry.
What's in the middle?
The path to shoreline transit for
like
Lighthouse.
The actual location, or within the
because it's both the location and the transit. So it's both an extract and a transit. The path to shoreline these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as marathon goes, you actually finish the marathon when you do the transit to shoreline, but then you only finish the guide when you extract out of shoreline. Bizarrely, because of the way that they did it, they never required a shoreline extract for marathon. Weirdly, because originally you had to start on ground zero, but now you can do it however. Even although you end up doubling back, but yeah, you could do it however you like, which is better. But shoreline's still not a requirement. Anyway, I tried to do that, and that was like, that was at least like sort of chill, sort of stressful, kind of sort of a longer term anxiety of doing that. So I might do a bit more of that. That's kind of it's kind of fun. I don't mind doing those. Kind of okay.
Well, let me tell you about a game that my friend asked us to play, which through a very odd means, we had to use Steam's remote play together. Have you ever used this feature before?
No.
So the idea is like you connect to someone's machine via Steam's API, and you get like a stream of their game, and your inputs get sent to their machine, and it's kind of like that, right? I'm not really too 90% of that was source. I made it up, but that seems to be how it works from what I can tell.
Okay.
And the reason why is because this doesn't have online multiplayer support. But let me tell you about the game, Giga, called Crawl. So this game,
it's a little bit like playing like emulators on one keyboard. Like I have great fond memories of 4 people playing Super Smash Brothers on one PC keyboard at university.
Yes, it is very much like that, but just through the internet, effectively.
Yeah.
However, with like Steam's remote play together, it seems that you can use controllers, and like that makes it a lot more seamless for developers to integrate it and whatnot. I think because you don't have to like, for example, I couldn't find my controller because it was recommended we play a controller. I was like, okay, we'll try keyboard, and we took us a little bit to figure it out, but basically the host had to like give me keyboard control, and then I could, within the game settings, assign player 3 my keys to hit. Whatever. It's a little whatever. But the game Crawl. Okay, this game blew me away. So it's a pixel art game, and it's kind of like a party game, right? You have 4 people. It's kind of very arcadey feel to it. Like when you start it up and you're creating, it's like you insert a coin and your sliver of your player 1 slots in, and you type in 3 letters for your name, and select your god that you're going to worship. So it has to do with like I don't know, worshiping deities and stuff. But anyways, it's getting to the gameplay. it's very unique, and I wish, like, if this was in the arcades back when I was a kid, like at some mini golf thing, putt putt or whatever, we'd be playing the crap out of this. So, anyways, it's 4 players. You select your god to worship, whatever. You spawn in, and it's a fight to the death between the 4 of you, right? And
Okay.
the last one standing makes it through, and the other 3 players are now ghosts flying around, right? And your mission as the ghost is to kill the player, right? And your mission as the player is to get strong enough to go and defeat the boss, right? And whoever gets the last hit on the player becomes the new player, right? And so you're kind of
Right. Okay.
swapping between the ghost and the player, like your human form, I guess. And it has a sort of like roguelikeness to it because there's a gold, you could like loot chest, you get gold, there's shops, and it's kind of like a dungeon crawler. There's like trap rooms, and then you can choose to like advance the dungeon and go down to a next level, right? So then you get a new shop, etc. So let's say I'm playing and I find a shop, I got some gold, I buy like a sword and some potion to make me more agile, but I lose strength or whatever. And then go into a room and suddenly there's these 3 pentagrams. Like, oh crap, I know what that means. The ghosts then can like go to these pentagrams and then summon monsters from their god, right? And
Okay.
it's like you get like 3 different monsters.
You can choose.
Well, you choose your god, which determines your
Right.
monsters, and then after every time you like proceed deeper into the dungeon, like to the next level, so to speak, you get to take your what's called raft points, which is like the points you acquire while being a ghost to level up your 3 monsters, like evolve them essentially. Like
Okay.
centaur, maybe you start off with like a wolf, then it becomes like a centaur, like a wolf knight thing. You gotta like choose, and it's like, man, it is just so much fun to like because it is like it's almost a guarantee, at least for when we played, that when you walk into a room with a pentagram, you're dying and someone's gonna get to be the player, get a chance, right? And the really coolest part of it all was once you reach level 10, because as you like proceed the dungeon, I don't know how it determines. Oh yeah, I think you get XP per whatever. There's like human XP. It doesn't really matter. But once you reach level 10, then you're strong enough by the game's metric to challenge the boss. And when you go into the boss room, you get like a full heal, and then you go and fight the boss, right? Um, and but the fun twist is once you do that, right, and you're in there, the ghosts now inhabit different parts of the boss and control the boss and fight and try to like stop you from winning essentially. And
Okay.
it is just so cool. Like whoever cooked this up was just like, because it's essentially a roguelike that you take turns playing in essence.
Yeah.
And you're like competing against each other, but like in some instances kind of working together. Like if you're all ghost, if someone is ahead of the pack, let's say, it's like we all kind of want to work together. So like I don't want to like do things that would like hurt other ghost. There's like this one of the things you can do is there's like this ectoplasm that spawns for ghosts to collect. And if you collect enough, you can spawn what we call a goo, and it's like just a little gooey blob ball that's very weak and it shoots little pellets. But you could like steal a kill to become the human, right, and try to like progress your character to go take on the boss. But you can only have up to 3 of these before collecting ectoplasms is no longer useful, right? Like it won't go anywhere. So in other words, it doesn't make sense for me to, like collect plasma once I'm full, because then it's not going to help my ghost pseudo allies. But maybe I do want to do that just because I don't want to give them resources, so that way I could starve them and maybe still to kill, whatever. But anyways, it is just, I mean, God, I got screwed over. one of my friends screwed me over so bad. It was actually genius. So we we got into a room. It was basically this room you're seeing on screen. This is where you
Mm,
can go to challenge the boss if you're level 10, right? And what they did is, because one of the things we were starting to develop as we were playing this game, because me and Shishbi, he's the game host, he's the one that told us about this game. I had a previous experience playing this game once with him, and then we were trying a new session with two other people who were new to the game. So we were kind of like learning things, and I was kind of building upon previous knowledge. But one of the things that came out of this play session was we discovered the strength of like um trap rooms, like these really narrow trap rooms. Like it'll just be like
mm.
a corridor in a hallway that just kind of like an S, right? And we used to just not really do anything. Like maybe you try to, because you can like inhabit a jar, like a pot, and like throw it at the player to try to like get a little chip damage. Like there's like these little like traps you can occupy to like mess them up. Like it's really fun. But one of the mechanics is when you spawn a goo as a or any type of monster. Like if there's a pentagram or
Mm.
there's some rooms that have like a statue, it's like a very distinct statue, and when you it'll only be one, but when you whoever inhabits becomes like this mini boss they have to fight. Which is like a really strong monster. One of them was Gabe Newell, like just actual pixel art Gabe Newell, which caught us all off guard. We were not ready for that. Like it was insane. But I back to the meta part with the hallways. When you spawn a goo, all the doors shut, like all the exits to the room shut. So if there's a
Okay.
monster, anything spawns, like you gotta fight it out basically. So what we would do
Hmm.
is like one ghost would like speed to the corner of the room. One ghost would like linger at the start where the player came in. So when the player got towards the end of the room,
Oh,
spawn a goo, and they had to turn around,
at the
go back through
beginning.
all the traps, and then they would spawn another one, so they couldn't just leave. Like I actually died. Like I was full health to 0 and 1 because I mean,
Oh my god.
yeah, it was insane. Like someone was like just beaming me of like there's like a trap that slings like a puck with spikes on it and it bounces all over the place. And they were just nailing me every time as I'm like chasing down the goo. And then there's this other instance where there's this little like starter minion monster who's like a slug, right? And you whenever you spawn, get on the pentagram to spawn your monsters as a ghost, it just picks from one of the three different categories.
Okay.
Um, so, anyways, they got the slug, and the slug's like really weak. It has low HP and shoots a little like pellet, but it has this one move that's so annoying where because it's only 3 buttons, right? All you really need
Hmm.
is a joystick and 2 buttons. That's it. You can play it on keyboard, but because it's like designed for analog arcade stick like this, I did a little bit of research. It's like they made this based off inspiration for a lot of these like Japanese arcade games from like the 80s that they liked.
Right.
So all you really need is 2 buttons and a joystick. But anyways, um you have your primary fire and you have like your special ability, which for the human is like your primary is like sling, like use weapon and then like dodge roll. But you can like
Right.
trade your dodge roll for some other stuff if you want. But anyways, for the slug, it was shoot pellet, and then it was like go underground and burrow like really far away and pop back up. So the whole time I'm like running around trying to kill this slug because I can't leave the room until the slug dies. Meanwhile, everyone's just like flinging stuff at me. There's like a totem that's like shooting fire, and I for the life of me I cannot kill the slug because like, and I'm having to metagame it so hard where it's like I'm chasing it and then I'm running back because I know they're gonna go underground and pop back up, and so it's just like it 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 was awful but a lot of fun. And
Yes.
we got to Chishpi. He was able to defeat the boss for the first time. Like he got powerful enough. Because if you try to defeat the boss and fail too many times as the player, you lose. You become like the game ends. Because you're as the human, you're trying to like stop the gods from resurrecting or something. I don't know, but you lose. You get in first place, and or fourth place, and whoever has like the highest XP afterwards is like distributed to first, second, third,
Okay.
etc. But if you win, it's like inverse. You're number one, and everyone else is, first, second, or second, third, fourth based off XP. But anyways, yeah, this one that's on video right now was super cool. It was like there's this little dude, like this priestess who's I don't know, like animating this golem statue with different body parts, like a golden arm, legs, alive. And so the player has to go and kill the priestess. Meanwhile, the ghosts have to navigate and fly and use like the hand to like smack down onto the player, and then the head could like cast the AoE to make him hex him into a chicken. But it was so cool because as the different stages completed, like phase 1 of the boss, phase 2, phase 3, like eventually we just had like lasers that would fire and like area denial, and he has to like dodge all this stuff. It is really cool. It's a like I highly recommend it for like a party game. Unfortunately, if you're trying to play like with people online, you have to use the Steam remote play. But that does mean that you only need one person to own the copy. But yeah,
True.
As like a party game, wow, this game was just like, for a pixel game, very like conceptually, gameplay wise, I was like, wow, this is kind of genius, because it's like roguelike gameplay in a party game. Like, it's just I don't know, it's just so much fun. Such a good game.
That's also cool, being like co-op, and like, you lose, but then you're then preventing. You're playing straight away again.
You play
like the enemy
antagonist.
Like, it's cool.
It's so good. I love that. Genius.
Yeah, that is good. How do you even do remote play? Where even is the option?
That is a great question. I do not know, because I just get a Steam invite that's like,
you get invited to it,
and then I hit OK, and then there's like a little UI, and then you can do. But as far as like what the actual person who's hosting the remote play, I don't know what they have to do on their end. I mean, it seemed like out of the box controller was fairly seamless, but to get PC like keyboard, he had to do something on his end. So I don't know, but that it didn't seem very clear at first, because we couldn't figure out how to get keyboard support working at first, but eventually we did. Anyways,
awesome. That seems like one to watch out for.
Yeah,
definitely.
And there is an interesting story, though I couldn't find it, but my friend said apparently it's from an Australian development team, and they were like funded by the state, or the government rather.
Oh,
yeah. Cool. And I don't know. I couldn't find the source for that, but I'm intrigued by that. The other thing I've been looking into was Dark Souls 2 modding, and because I follow this one modder / content creator who does a lot of Dark Souls stuff, Souls modding and whatnot, a lot of like remastering projects, bringing things up to the modern era. And he had a couple videos about Dark Souls 2, but Dark Souls 2 is very notorious for being like disliked, because it was different than the previous and even its like predecessors, or the ones following it rather. And it had trouble development. Like, basically the lead developer took a seat back essentially, and was like, we'll let this other team do it, and I won't have that much say into it. And it's like a unique experience for that reason. But eventually it did get like, not really remastered, but they remade it in the DirectX 11 engine, or API rather. It used to be DirectX 9, and that's called Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. And there's like some changes in there, but long and short of it, it's kind of it does some unique things to it that a lot of people don't like, and it's a little janky. That being said, okay, the Dark Souls 2 Lighting Engine mod was featured on Digital Foundry, which does like a lot of like video game analysis, hardware review, sometimes modding, sometimes like just whatever stuff, retro stuff. And I thought, okay, let me look at this because seen enough footage about it, and I'm actually really blown away. I just got it to work last night because atypical user error. I wasn't like, I don't know, wasn't reading all the steps properly, but it is super impressive because this person was able to do, they were able to reverse engineer the was it shader or was it no depth buffer, I think. I don't know, they were able to reverse engineer like a lot of the graphics side of things, and
Okay.
essentially without like catastrophically triggering anti-cheat, let's say. They were able to hook into like the depth buffer and use a lot of this like reverse engineering to overhaul the lighting engine. So they have like volumetric fog, volumetric lighting. They have like indirect lighting. It's not like global. What is it called?
Or global illumination, that stuff, or something else.
Yeah, it's like a budget check. It's like essentially shading parts of the map, referencing the light. Like it's not real time or anything. But anyways, yeah, they got like even like because they had like a few dynamic shadows in the base game, but it's only on certain objects. Like for example, the bonfire, which is where you go to like as like a checkpoint system to like level up, etc. It would cast a shadow behind a player and I think objects as well, but now like you have like sun shadows, like just insane stuff, right? And then the lighting aspect, then you got like all these profiles for different areas. So now like other modders can come in and be like, here's my, preset for Dark Souls 2 of all the maps shaded how I want it to look, etc. But one of the more impressive things I thought was they were able to get AMD FSR like through the game and NVIDIA's DLSS through the game, which means, yeah, I know, which means you could turn off anti-aliasing in the game because it uses like FXAA and use NVIDIA's DLAA, which is like insane. And you could even use the quality preset, performance preset, or whatever. You could use the downscaling, upscaling solution. And I was just like, what? And then they got like this other tech with the shadows where you can turn on what's called, I think it's PCSS or PSCC. I'm not too sure, but it essentially tries to take the distance from the lighting source and the casting shadow and make it more realistic by, if the lighting source is the sun and the tree is really far away from that source, then the shadow that it casts will have like more fuzziness around it. It won't be like stenciled and tight. Whereas like if the player's really close up to the light or the shadow to the player or whatever, it's like more stenciled out and less fuzzy compared. I don't think it's linear. Like it doesn't scale out the further the shadow stretches like it would in real life. But it's still a little something. And yeah, it's like you can do all of this and like probably a bit more. I'm not too. I didn't get to look at it fully, but just the actual like engineering feat of doing it all without like compromising anti-cheat measures as well is like really impressive because you can play this online, which for some people is a big appeal because there is online. Online's not a huge part of the Soul series, but some people it might be because they have the whole invasion system. You can like invade people and whatnot. But it's really impressive. Like I'm just kind of blown away at the tech. Like supposedly they're working on. Oh, here's I guess you can kind of see a little bit example of that shading from the light source being applied to the wall there, which like looks very. It's just like comparing the two, it's like night and day. Like it's kind of crazy how much of a
it's like Metal Gear like 1 versus 3 kind of thing.
It's
how it looks.
It's insane. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, definitely check out Digital Foundry's video. Like it's like an 8-minute video, 10-minute, just to see the technical prowess of it, it's like very impressive to see the difference. And yeah, of course, if you ever want to play it, Dark Souls 2, I don't know how many people actually own that. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The apparently the developer is, after they finish this up, because I think they're on like the 0.9. So once they kind of reach like 1.0 milestone where they feel like it's good to go, they're going to start working on implementing it into the Dark Souls 3 engine, which would be,
cool.
a lot more people, enjoy that game over Dark Souls 2. It's kind of it's just a different title. I think it's a very interesting way to play it. But anyways, so I'm kind of down that rabbit hole. I might do like a remastered playthrough and just because I played it once when I bought it back in like 2018. I mean, this game came out in like 2014 or something.
Right.
But and I finished it, but I didn't like do everything. But I'm curious to try it with the graphics mod, and I'll probably do a few other mods to like make the game not so jank and different. And it's just really cool how people are able to do this. I'm always just like fascinated by techno wizards, as I call them.
Yeah, it is magic. It really is magic. Yeah, it's funny. It's just like I've still never played any of them. So
yeah,
I mean, like, you seen enough of them, seen friends play it and stuff, but never played any myself. I mean, maybe I will get around to it. I was kind of at the point now. I'm just like, yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will start playing some of these things that I've. Do you think, like, if somebody was going to get into the Souls world, are you better off just playing Elden Ring, like, just straight up? Is that the best thing to do? Just play that, ignore the others.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I would be tempted to say, but I do kind of miss the linearity, like because that's the nice and good thing about Elden Ring, in my opinion, is you do have it's open world, right? You do have a lot of player agency, but there's so much content in that game, and because there's so much content, it's not every single pixel space on the map, world, or whatever levels is not going to be tailored for a blow your mind. This was like a unique experience. Like, no, you're going to see a lot of similar assets in certain dungeons, especially like they have like these particular dungeons, and there's a lot of bosses and mini bosses to fight, but I don't know. So like for me personally, I had trouble finishing Elden Ring, let's say, but it is like, kind of it is a good game. I feel like I would be tempted to say like just try Dark Souls 3 because it's kind of like the most user friendly, but still retains that kind of that thing that I liked about the originals, is just kind of just like this linear path. It's like each level is kind of like, because in the Elden Ring, it's like you have that, but it's like in sections, right? It's like, oh, this is a familiar, castle that I'm invading or whatever. This feels like the original. But then outside of that, it's like you don't see that for another 18 hours if you do every single thing there is to do in the game, right? Which I'm kind of like a sucker for. So I don't know. I wish I could give a better answer, but that's kind of where I'm leaning, is something about that original.
From a very quick like skim through online, it seems people sort of have a similar view. People are just like, one is good. Like, if you just want to dive in, 3 is like probably the best mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically for sure.
Because like the original is like 2011 or something.
Yeah, there is a remastered version, but it's
clearly remastered things so much.
Yeah, I mean it's but I mean I do like the first. It's not like they went in and like overhauled every single system and modernized it, right? It's just like let's make some things look prettier and call it remastered, boom, type of thing. Maybe fix a few bugs, I don't remember. And they did like add some online and fix some online issues if I recall. But anyways, point being is I do like the first because it has the map, like it's like kind of Metrovania in that aspect. Like once you get this item, then this way opens up and that backtracks to here, and then now you got like this shortcut, and the map kind of like everything leads back to the start in a way. Whereas a lot
Yeah.
of the other titles, you kind of end up like linearly going one way, which is just like, it's not as it was. I like the first one's map; it's really cool. But that aside, 3 is probably the recommendation I would go with because it's just like the mechanics are less. That really wasn't Dark Souls 1 wasn't really their beta because more like Demon Souls was their beta, but
Oh,
it's still
true.
pretty early on.
I
And
always forget about that one.
yeah, I haven't played that one. I've been thinking about trying it on the emulator, but I know that one's like really, really rough.
That's 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Interesting. Yeah. Apparently the third one is like about 30 hours, and the first one's about 40, roughly. Interestingly. Yeah. Yeah, I'll think about it. 30, 40 hours is still quite a lot.
yeah,
It's much less than Elden Ring, though.
yeah. I mean,
I think
if you stick to the path in Elden Ring, it's still got to be like 60 to 80 hours. I feel like.
apparently it's 60 hours roughly if you stick to the main
Yeah,
objective.
it's a lot of. I mean,
Which
and
is
I hate
kind of
and I
mad.
hate to say that as like it's a bad thing because I feel like it shouldn't be. You know what I mean? And I'm not necessarily saying it is. I'm just saying like there's something that I liked about you know, it's almost like less was more because you get more of a very particular experience. But if you if you love open world, tons of exploration at your fingertips, then yeah, you'll probably like Elden Ring a lot more, to be honest.
I have to think about it. I have to think about it.
All right.
Cool.
Well, managed to finish on time, which is
Yes.
excellent. A feat in of itself. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll carry on probably next week. So maybe a little bit earlier, but yeah, we'll try to get this out as soon as possible. Otherwise, see you all later this week.
Bye bye.